Yoranna, this is my friend Wing Sung, and today we're going to go on his pearl farm. We're going to visit his operation. We're going to see how much work goes into making pearls, how difficult it is technically, and why are they so expensive. Then you're going to understand that it takes a huge amount of labors and tears to be able to produce even one pearl. So Wing Sung and I are going to take his boat, and we're going to go all the way to Taha'a, which is the other island, and that's where the water is actually very, very clean, very pristine, and that's where we're going to go very soon. Yoranna. Gani is going to actually open the oyster, and he's going to show us how it's done. Vas-y Gabi, tu peux y aller si tu veux. So you take one of the young oyster and he insert it, but you don't want to break the muscle, so you have to go very, very carefully, and here that's done. Then they put the series of oysters that want to be open, that want to be grafted. Put the oysters that want to be grafted in the bucket, and all those oysters. It's the first time grafting. There's several stages of the grafting. The first grafting was produce 8, 9, 10, 11 millimeters. And then after that, when you want to have larger pearls, you actually take the pearls out and you put a second nucleus that will give you, hopefully, a larger pearl. So the process is quite extensive and quite long. Preparing for the second grafting. These are already larger oysters. They already have a pearl hopefully in it. So they use a special knife to pry open the oysters very carefully, because you don't want to break the muscle, otherwise the oyster will die. It looks a simple gesture, but it takes quite a while to be able to use the right amount of strength to open the oysters without killing it. Now I'm with my friend Wing Sung, and Wing Sung is going to do the grafting, the first grafting on the oysters. And this is pretty much like surgery, where everything has to be very clean, very neat, and the incision into the oysters is going to be made very carefully, because you don't want to obviously kill the oysters. You want to have the nucleus being inserted into the oyster, and so surgery has to be done very, very carefully, very neatly. And he has all his instruments all set up. You have the nucleus that I'll show you in a minute, and then the nucleus will be inserted into the gonade, which is where the eggs are produced into the oyster. Now the nucleus, tu peux me passer un nucleus s'il te plaît? See, this little round ball here is the nucleus, and this nucleus is actually come from the Mississippi River. It's a shell that is produced in the Mississippi River. So in a way, most South Sea pearls, Tahitian pearls, golden or white South Sea pearls, are actually an American product because most of those nucleus come from the Mississippi River.
Wingsong,
Oui.
combien de nacs tu as été obligé de tuer avant de vraiment maîtriser la technique? How many oysters did you have to kill before you can
Bon, il m'a
really
fallu
learn how
2
the
ans.
technique?
Hein,
About 2 years.
Ouais, pour maîtriser. Hein.
Yeah, 2 years to master the technique, and it's quite difficult. So here's the nucleus that I was showing you earlier, and then he's making sure his instruments are not only very clean but also very sharp, because the incision has to be made very, very carefully. So this is the second grafting that Wingsong is doing, and some of the oysters will be used again for a third grafting, and the one that are too tired, meaning the one that haven't produced a very good pearl, actually will be rejected and they'll go back into the lagoon, so spawning can then occur automatically. Now Wingsong is taking an oyster that's been already in the water for 2 years, and he's going to take the pearl out. We're going to see what he has obtained after 2 years of really intensive labor. He took the pearl out and he's inserting the nucleus for hopefully will be a second grafting, and that oysters will have to stay in the water at least 1.5 years to be able to get a second pearl, and then it goes on to a third grafting. So you see the oysters is very well cared for, they're never killed, and during all those years they're in the water, you will see later on that all the oysters actually are cleaned by hand, one by one, for as long as they stay in the water. There you saw the other pearls coming out. Beautiful round pearls. And this here you see the nucleus. As I said, the nucleus come from the Mississippi River. Actually, there are shells that have been made into a round ball, and once it's a nucleus, that round nucleus, along with a piece of the tissue from one oyster, is inserted. So you obtain a particular type of color. So Wingsong, c'est seulement des rondes là que tu as.
Bah apparemment. Non, j'ai une
C'est-
ronde,
Oui.
une SB, une saclée. 2 ronds.
2 rondes. Hein. So right now he had 2 round, 1 semi-baroque and 1 circle pearl. So what Gabby is saying is these are already 1 year old, and you have to wait for another year again before those juvenile oysters can be grafted. And they have to take care of those oysters all this time, meaning they have to clean it up, and they have one by hand to make sure that they are in good health.
So Gabby said that he just got those 1-year-old oysters. They had to bring them from another atoll. There is somebody else that's in charge of raising very young oysters into the 1-year-old. And once they're about 1-year-old, then they are brought here to the pearl farm. And they will be cared for another year before we can use them.
You can see how pristine the water is. Right off the farm, you have those beautiful corals. Oysters can only survive in an environment that is very clean, where the temperature is very constant. Actually, oysters get their food from the corals.
What Gabby was explaining is the oysters has to be put in those special nets that are actually very thick, because turtles or other predators like parrotfish will try to break the oyster and eat the animal. So actually by using those type of nets, it prevents them from getting destroyed by the fish or the turtles. This is one of the fish that's responsible for eating the oysters. Yeah, what Wingson is showing is they forgot one line of smaller oysters into the water overnight. It only took one night for all those oysters to be eaten up by either parrotfish or turtles or some other type of predators to those oysters. Only in one night. So they forgot to put it and wrap it around those protective netting. And this is what happened. And this is the reason why they had to put the oysters into those special netting. Those are specially made for the baby oysters. These are the buoys that allow the nets to float under the water, and so they avoid diving, because you know too much diving is quite dangerous. So they try to minimize the risk, and they use those buoys to hold all those different nets. So when I came in French Polynesia about 20 years ago, I got really excited that human being can marry that technology with Mother Nature in order to produce what I believe is such a beautiful gems, the Tahitian pearls, that has all the colors, the beauty that are reflecting onto those waters that I'm surrounded by. This is a huge lagoons. I mean, you can see the lagoon goes all the way from here, probably 3 or 4 miles out. So this is like a beautiful, natural, preserved, pristine water where everything is in well balanced, well maintained. They really try not to use chemicals or anything like this that would be destroying the environment. They keep all the byproducts out of all the garbage all out. It's all done in a very eco-friendly environment. So when I came here about 20 years ago, I got again very, very excited by having seen some of the first Tahitian pearls coming out of the water. And for me, it's a passion. Pearls is a passion. And I have been involved with pearls around the world, in the Philippines or Indonesia, with the golden and white Sarsi pearl. I still believe that the Tahitian pearls produce some of the most beautiful color. I mean, no colors is always the same. There's always a variation of green, of blue, of red, of gray, all mixed together into different range of hues. Gem from the sea have a very thick nacre. They'll last more than a lifetime. You can pass it on to your loved one, to your daughters or sons, and they can last for generations because the quality of those pearls are very, very unique. You can see the island, the very famous island of Bora Bora, just across where we are. Here we're in the island of Taha'a. You can see the beautiful corals, and the corals, as you know, is the source of the food for the oysters. So the healthier the corals are, then the healthier the oysters are, and the more colorful pearls you can obtain. So here we are after traveling over 5 hours from Honolulu to Papeete, another hour from Papeete to another outer island, Taha'a. It took us several thousand of miles to cross over the ocean to go to an area that's very remote and very difficult to access. It's not all the time that you have flights. Everything has to be moved to those atolls. Not only the manpower, the technicians, the laborers, but everything, all the food, the gasoline, the boats, the ropes, the housing. And it takes an enormous amount of work, enormous amount of dedication to be able to produce pearls and be able to sustain a farm and be able to constantly have a production that's well maintained and well managed. Now we're going to go and we're going to do a little diving so I can show you how the architecture of the net is made on the water to the net that I showed you earlier. And we're going to hopefully see maybe some fish and let you share the beautiful experience of pearl farming. Tu vas remettre? Now the pearls that we harvested this morning by Wingsong are here on the table. And now is a critical moment of the day where I have to negotiate the price with him to be able to obtain a price that is commercially competitive. So there's always a tension between the seller and the buyer and haggling back and forth for the price. But I just wanted to show you how 6,000 pearls, 5,000 pearls looks like. And this is a first grafting. And Wing Song started with about 8,000 oysters.
Comment tu pêches les perles?
And it yielded about 5,000 pearls. So you can see already from 8,000 oysters, he had 5,000 pearls. And this is the first graft. Most of the pearls are 8, 9, 10 millimeters. You have different categories. You have circles, you have round, semi-round, you have the semi-baroque, and then you have here more the near-round oval drops. So you have different shapes. And what he regrafted this morning was only 2,000 pearls. To be able to obtain larger pearls, he had to see the second time. And the second time, out of the 5,000 or 6,000 oysters that are seedable, then only 2 he's able to reseed in order to obtain pearls around 12, 13, 14 millimeters. Out of 2,000 oysters, how many pearls can you get? Probably about 1,500 pearls, no more than that. And out of the 1,500 pearls, about half of it are round, and half of that are the quality that we're selling to you on Gem Shopping Network. So you can see the value of the pearls. Of course, the smaller pearls are less expensive, like the 8, 9, 10 millimeters. But once you get into the 12, 13, 14, you go into another category. And sometimes you need a third grafting. And the third grafting will even yield even less pearls. In that case, you would be having pearls about 14, 15, 16 millimeters. So here's the different shades of the colors. You have the pistachio pearls. You have more that are aubergine like these, with a slight red overtone. See, you can see the slight red overtone. And in my hands, I hold different colors as well. So that's what makes this gem very, very unique. It's the variety of the colors. There's no pearl in the world that has such a range of colors. Actually, a friend of mine made a little leaflet with the different color range, and you have more than several hundred, almost 1,000 pearl color difference. So now I'm ready to go back. I have the pearls with me and going back to Tahiti for one day's work. And we're going to thank my host here, Wing Song, Maruru Roa.
Okay, maruru.
Yeah, I'll see you next time. Okay. So in the meantime, you can produce some nice pearls for us, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We're leaving the island now. We came about 5:30 in the morning, and now we're going back to the airport by boat, not by car, by boat, guys.